In a cave in the middle of the forest in India, a man was telling a story to two local tribes' children. While he was engrossed in telling a story, he suddenly heard the sound of bats scattering around the cave because something was approaching outside. The man carefully came out with his gun to hunt down the creature when suddenly, a loud voice from outside indicated that the creature had pinned the man down. Years later, a man named Bhaskar, a contractor sent by his boss to survey the highway project through Zori Forest, was seen. He went there with his cousin Jana and his acquaintance, namely Joman. Their journey from the airport to the destination was quite far and winding through the hills, but they still enjoyed the scenery while singing songs along the trip. The three of them finally arrived at the lodging later that night. It was made of bamboo but cozy enough to stay. When they entered, they saw something perched on the ceiling in the dark that turned out to be a bat. It finally flew away after the guard turned on the room lights. The next day, Bhaskar and the others went to meet the representatives of the area, namely Mr. Nelly Prakash and the representative of the local tribe named Mr. Panda, to explain the plan for the road construction that would pass through Zoro Forest, where the local tribe, the Apatani tribe, lived for more than 20 generations. The tribe made a living from the forest and even worships the forest itself. Some of the representatives there agreed with the plan because the cost of constructing a road through the middle of the forest is much cheaper than going around the forest, and it will definitely profit a lot. But some were more concerned about nature that would be destroyed and the people of the Apatani tribe that had to leave from there. But in the end, they all agreed that the highway project would still pass through the middle of the forest. The construction process started from the outskirts of the forest. On the way back from the project site, Mr. Panda was asked by Bhaskar to manage a meeting with the locals, while promising that he would compensate them for their land. After that, Mr. Panda told Bhaskar and the others that there were rumors of a so-called urban legend in Zoro Forest called Yapam, and for many years there had never been a highway construction there thanks to that. But Bhaskar arrogantly said that money is the key. Anything would be okay as long as there is money. Offended with Bhaskar and the others, Mr. Panda said that they had disrespected the forest and the locals. He decided to leave the car because they almost made it to his house. Before leaving, Bhaskar saw a sacred cow that the Apatani called Mithun. They kept mocking the cow until they ended up having an incident caused by Mithun in the middle of the forest after what they had done. Their car broke down. Joman was sure that it deliberately showed up in front of them because it was offended, while Bhaskar, which had been mocking the cow, didn't care at all and instead blamed Joman for not focusing on the road. While they were thinking about how to get back to their place, Bhaskar got a call from his father, who found out that he had pawned his grandfather's house for the sake of the project. Not wanting to deal with his father, he pretended that his phone lost the signal and hung up the call. Bhaskar was taking his time to urinate when suddenly a wolf-like creature showed up. He was so scared and started running for his life while screaming for his friends' names. They didn't believe Bhaskar since he had been scaring them since their car broke down. But when they saw the creature, they began running too. Bhaskar climbed the tree to save himself, but the wolf bit his right buttock, thankfully, leaving him without claiming his life. Instead of going to the hospital, Joman and Jana took Bhaskar to the house of a nearby veterinarian named Anika, because if someone found out that Bhaskar was bitten by a wolf in the forest, then people would believe that Yapam was mad at them and the road construction would not happen. Not long after that, Joman explained the situation to Anika. Anika then brought Bhaskar to her clinic. As soon as his pants were pulled down, a gruesome wound was seen, and instead of being treated right away, they were busy thinking about how Bhaskar could continue his life without the right part of his buttock. After getting way too occupied with their thoughts, Anika took a painkiller and injected it into Bhaskar to relieve his pain. The next morning, Bhaskar felt something strange with himself, starting from his sharper senses, crazy reflexes, unbearable hunger, sharp teeth, and his suddenly muscular body. After that, Bhaskar and his two friends left to meet the Apatani tribe. But strangely on the road, Bhaskar had time to turn around and pick up a carcass of a rabbit, which he said he had smelled since they left the lodging, even though the distance was already very far. When they arrived at the residence meeting hall, as a native, Mr. Panda tried to explain Bhaskar's intentions as a contractor who would build a road through the middle of the forest and several houses of residents who were evicted would get quite a large amount of compensation. But that tribe was not concerned with money and obviously did not agree with Bhaskar's interests. There was even one resident who brandished his machete and threatened Bhaskar. Even though he was rejected, Bhaskar still didn't give up and tried to approach the young guns of the Apatani tribe by explaining the various facilities which would be built later. In contrast to the elders who flatly refused, the young nuns were enthusiastic about the plan and immediately supported by signing their approval. After that, Prakash was given the files to keep. Suddenly, Bhaskar felt something strange again, where his hearing was very sharp, so that he could hear conversations of people in the distance. Moreover, when they left the place, Bhaskar felt an excruciating pain in his stomach, so Mr. Panda took him to Oja, the shaman of the tribe, who was 120 years old. Olga started to examine Bhaskar and put his face in the water. Instead of being cured, Bhaskar was scared when he saw the face of Yapam in the water, and ran from there while Oja was just smiling watching Bhaskar's reaction. Bhaskar immediately went to meet Anika and explained about his sharp senses and his wound that was completely healed in just one night. After examining his condition again, Anika confirmed that Bhaskar's condition was not normal since his heart beat so fast. Therefore, she gave him some medicine, but Bhaskar refused to take them and said that his condition had improved and that he felt better after meeting her. He then asked her out to see the music festival. A few days later, Bhaskar, Joman, and Jana came to the festival. Coincidentally happened during a full. The place was so crowded and attended by many local people including Anika, Mr. Nelly, Prakash, and also Mr. Panda. They had a blast and danced throughout the night. Before the festival finished, Prakash went to his place in the middle of the forest. Just as he arrived, he heard a rattling sound outside. Soon after, Yapam showed up and attacked him. The next day, Bhaskar was called by the police because his jacket was found near Prakash's tent. The three of them were confused because last night they were attending the festival, but to divert the police's suspicion, Bhaskar said that he lent his jacket to Prakash because he was drunk that night. Thankfully, the police didn't suspect a thing and believed him. Shortly after, Mr. Panda came to give his testimony that he was not far from the crime scene and saw the shadow of a man who suddenly turned into a four-legged creature and then attacked Prakash last night. He was sure that the creature was Yapam. After leaving the police station, Bhaskar felt sick and vomited a lot of blood. In the end, Joman and Jana took him back to see Anika. According to her diagnosis, Bhaskar had a severe stomach ulcer because he ate too much red meat, and when the painkiller was injected, suddenly, Bhaskar seemed to lose control and showed his amazing strength by lifting the mattress with Joman and Jana on it very easily. Also showed terrible temperament. Seeing the strength and attitude that changed after being bitten, Jana was sure that Bhaskar was the one who transformed into Yapam and attacked Prakash. Therefore, Jana had the idea to take Bhaskar's feces sample secretly with Joman directly from the drains when he was pooping and examined it in the lab. After bringing the sample to the lab, they had to wait for the results the next day when suddenly Bhaskar showed up there to visit Prakash. When he entered the room, something strange happened. Prakash's wounds suddenly healed, and he thanked Bhaskar for biting him, even inviting him to kill the villagers who were against them. But it turned out that it was only his imagination. A few moments later, the military commander named Mr. Kaso arrived there. He immediately took Prakash's body to be cremated because they considered him a virus carrier for the incident with Yapam. At the same time, the Apatani tribe was having a ceremony to worship Yapam around the bonfire when suddenly the fire took the shape of a Yapam. The next morning, Joman and Jana asked about Bhaskar's strange behavior, which had changed drastically since being bitten. Hearing Jana, who was accusing him and threatening to call his father, Bhaskar couldn't hold back his anger and choked him. At night, Joman and Jana met Anika and talked at length about Bhaskar's strange behavior. Besides that, the results of lab research also showed the presence of human nails, hair, and bone fragments found inside his feces. Soon after, Mr. Panda showed up and explained to them about Yapam, who used to attack people who would destroy the forest and would turn them into wolves. However, Anika felt the theories explained by them made no sense and assumed that Bhaskar only had a mental illness called lycanthropy. A mental illness where someone thinks of himself as a wolf. After Anika left there, Mr. Panda added that if someone has been bitten, he would also be affected by the full moon and turn into a wolf, since that night would be a full moon. Jana and Joman quickly went home to check the condition of Bhaskar. Meanwhile, at home, the full moon really affected Bhaskar. He started getting hysterical and couldn't control his body. Finally, he transformed into Yapam and jumped out of the window right when Joman and Jana arrived. Joman and Jana quickly chased after him, and they finally met eyes to eyes with Bhaskar. They were sure because he was still wearing his blue pants. Bhaskar, who had transformed into Yapam, immediately attacked them. The next morning, Bhaskar woke up in the middle of the forest still wearing his blue pants. There were also lots of traces of blood on his body. and he could see a black Yapam watching him from afar. When Bhaskar was on his way to return to the lodging, he met Anika, who would immediately give him a ride. When Bhaskar arrived at the lodging, Jana asked why he had the heart to commit violence at them. Bhaskar replied that he himself was also confused because his body seemed to be possessed by Yapam, and he couldn't remember anything. Soon after, Bhaskar got a call from Mr. Panda, who told him that last night, not only Mithun was devoured, but Mr. Nelly was also attacked. The CCTV in his place clearly showed a wolf wearing blue pants, similar to Bhaskar's, was seen attacking him. From there, Jana and Jomin quickly went to the lodging to get rid of the evidence by burning the blue pants, while Bhaskar went to meet Anika to help to cure him before night, since it would be a full moon that night. Bhaskar confessed that even though he couldn't control his body, he really saw Mr. Nelly, whom he attacked. Anika believed that Bhaskar got the curse because he dared to destroy Zero Forest. That night, Mr. Panda secretly came to the lodging and took evidence of Bhaskar's blue pants that had not been completely burnt, saying he would tell the residents that the killer of the people in the village was Bhaskar, who became the Yapam. With his ability, Bhaskar threatened him, giving him the terror to finally made him give up his intention to spread the fact that Bhaskar was Yapam. Jomin then took the pants back to burn it down completely, while Mr. Panda promised to find Oja the shaman to cure Bhaskar. Meanwhile, Bhaskar must refrain from turning into a wolf and eating people until Oja was found. Mr. Panda had been looking for Oja, who often wanders around the forest to meditate for months. On the other hand, since the attack on Mr. Nelly and Mithun, the whole village had become more concerned about Yapam. On the next full moon night, to prevent Bhaskar from rampaging with his Yapam form, Jomin and Jana were advised by Mr. Panda to tie up Bhaskar in a secluded warehouse. But when they got there, they met the military commander, Mr. Kaso, who immediately closed the warehouse from the outside and recorded the three of them because he had long been suspecting Bhaskar. The three of them panicked and tried to find a way out until finally, the full moon appeared and Bhaskar suddenly changed into Yapam. But fortunately, the other Yapam, who bit Bhaskar in the beginning, showed up and attacked Mr. Kaso, decapitating his hand completely and released Bhaskar and the others. Jomin then took Mr. Kaso's phone and deleted the video he took when Bhaskar transformed. The next day, Mr. Panda managed to find Oja and immediately brought Bhaskar to seek treatment from him. Through Mr. Panda, Oja said that the forest was angry with Bhaskar, who wanted to destroy it, and the only way to cure his curse was to be bitten by Yapam, once again on the same body part on a moonless night. To get rid of the curse, Bhaskar was willing to be bitten again, but so that the wolf wouldn't bite on other parts of the body, Jomin, Jana, and Anika helped Bhaskar to make a protective suit that only had a hole in the right buttock. Apart from that, Anika also took Bhaskar for a walk to her favorite place in the forest. The moonless night finally came. Bhaskar was wearing his protective suit and waiting at the place where he was first bitten, while Jomin and Jana watched him from afar. But at the same time, military troops had been deployed to hunt down Yapam. Soon, Yapam, whom Bhaskar had been waiting for, finally arrived, but the military saw it and began to attack, leaving it slightly injured from the shot. On the other hand, Mr. Panda had actually tried to warn Bhaskar about the military troops who would be looking for Yapam. The Yapam ran away, and Bhaskar immediately chased it as fast as he could so he could be bitten and healed. When he finally caught the Yapam, he found out that it was Anika all along. She was the Yapam that bit him. Anika confessed that he initially wanted to kill him because he was trying to destroy the forest with his project, but because of love that started to bloom, and because Bhaskar began to repent for his mistake, she decided to let him live. Anika also said that she had guarded Zero Forest for a century, and was looking for someone to replace her to look for the forest, because sooner or later the people in the village would find out her true identity. Suddenly, the military forces managed to catch and took Anika to the highway developer's office and was about to kill her. In the meantime, after explaining who Anika really was, Bhaskar tried to transform in a moonless night, but he couldn't. Mr. Panda told him to draw the power of the forest into his body, and he finally managed to transform. At the center of the village, Anika would soon be burned alive, and the local people have flocked to the place. Soon Bhaskar showed up and summoned a flock of bats to confuse enemy soldiers in order to free Anika from the cage that confined her, which turned out to be very difficult to break. Therefore, Bhaskar focused on defeating the surrounding military troops first, but unfortunately, his leg was caught in a log and was about to be shot by the enemy. Suddenly, Anika came to help. It turned out that Oja was helping them by releasing Anika from the cage. The people of the Apatani tribe, as well as local residents, adored the two who had protected Zero Forest. After the incident that night, Bhaskar and Annika finally returned to the forest. Different from before, Bhaskar was more accepting of his destiny as Yapam and realized how important the forest is for the survival of humans. They both walked to Annika's favorite place, but unfortunately, because the wound was too severe, Annika's physique continued to weaken until finally, she slipped off the cliff and died. 6 months later, Bhaskar decided to continue the construction on the border of the forest in order to continue to protect nature, while bringing modernization to the village of the Apatani tribe. In the end, Jana fed fresh animal meat to Bhaskar. Soon after, his friends came, and he welcomed them when suddenly, they heard the sound of a wolf from Bhaskar's room. They looked for the source of the sound when suddenly, Bhaskar with his wolf form jumped into them.